Hey, this is a little video I made today about a chase cam I've been trying to put together for a while. I've kind of come up with something that seems to work. It's a 2-liter soda bottle that's been cut into strips, a little piece of 1/8-inch irrigation tubing around the back, and some zip ties to make it into something like a shuttlecock from a badminton game. I use a Drift HD 720 camera which comes with this mount which fits nicely around the neck of the bottle. You don't need any special attachments or drill any holes. You just cinch that down on there and the camera mounts to the bottom of it. It provides a nice way to balance the thing. I just got a simple little carabiner up on the strut, and that runs down to the trusty Ryobi 12-volt drill that's mounted on the flap actuator handle with a hose clamp. A little reel that I made there out of some bits and pieces, and you could probably find some way to mount a drill on most airplanes if you had some structure nearby. That works good to pull it in and out with, because you have to reel it back up on the wing to land, and then let it out in the air when you want to film. This is working good. I just tested it today for the first time. There's probably still some development need to do, but I've got some further footage here that shows how it's working at the moment, and so far it seems to have been pretty successful. So here's a takeoff. I'm about 50 feet in the air, and I hit the drill and let the thing out. We're still trying to figure out the best distance for it. It seems a little more stable if it's further away from the airplane. I was still a little nervous about the angle of that attachment line there. I was going to do some steep turns, so you'll see here I pulled it in a little bit. It seemed to me that it was a little bit too far behind the airplane, and I was afraid that it might lag, and was worried about getting the line in the prop, so I pulled it in a few feet. It still seems to fly pretty good at a closer range. And then I did a couple of 30-degree bank turns to just see how it trailed, and if you look at the line that it's attached to there, the wing strut, it follows the airplane really well. It doesn't tend to sling out to the side like a water skier, which was my fear, that it would push itself off to one side or the other and potentially get into the prop. But so I made the first turn to the right, thinking if it swung out to the side, it wouldn't hurt anything going out that direction. It didn't. It followed straight behind. I made another turn to the left. Same deal. Followed nicely behind the airplane. I should say, I started off with a bottle that wasn't cut into the shuttlecock shape. It was just a 2-liter bottle with some holes cut in it, and it flew well below the airplane. Just went down instead of back. So you need something with a decent amount of drag. This Drift HD 720 camera isn't the lightest one. I think a GoPro is a lighter camera, but so in order to put the camera out behind the airplane, you need something that has a significant amount of drag so that it trails back and it doesn't just hang down. But this seems to be in a reasonably good spot for filming. If it was directly behind the airplane, you'd be in the prop wash and the vortex off the wing, and you get a lot of turbulence. This was a relatively smooth day. It was about an 8 to 12 mile an hour wind. So most of the shaking you see is probably going to be there even on a calm day. I tried a few, these weren't quite full stalls, just some whoop-de-doos to see how it would track with vertical deviations from level flight. It seemed to work just fine there too. So then the next challenge was to see if I could get it reeled back in when it came time to land. I first started testing this with monofilament line, and I found that worked a lot better, but I'll show you later in the video why I don't have the monofilament line on at this point. I just had to throw this in here, this beauty shot of the airplane going in front of the sun, and there's a little marine layer that's moving into the valley, which produces something that looks almost like an overcast, but actually there's probably 300 or 3-mile visibility down in that soup. It's just the low sun angle makes it look really pretty. So we're coming down now. I'm going to come around back to the approach end of the runway here, and you'll see as I come into land, I'll hit the drill motor. It's a reversible drill, so you hit the little button to reverse it to deploy the camera, and then switch it the other way to retrieve it. As you can see, it's flying below the bottom of the airplane. You can see a little bit of the bottom of the fuselage there, so it would be the first thing to hit the ground, and the camera rides below the shuttlecock, so it wouldn't be pretty. You'd probably scrape your camera all up if you forgot to reel it back in. That's one thing, I think I will go back to monofilament line, because I don't mind if the line breaks. That's only going to be out of camera. If the line is too sturdy and it does some damage to the airframe, that's a much more serious problem. So I consider the camera to be sacrificial at this point. Here you can see the camera coming back in. It comes up underneath the horizontal tail and right up under the wing strut. Hangs just a couple of feet off the ground there. Bring it into landing, and there you are. So I want to show now, there was one major failure in the development of testing. I found that the remote on the drift camera didn't work when the engine was running. It's supposed to go for 10 feet, and it usually does, but the engine must provide some interference. So I got the bright idea that I would put the camera in my lap, turn it on while I was in flight, and then toss it overboard. Well, the monofilament line wasn't strong enough, and this is the result. Ouch! But I tell you what, the Drift 720 proved itself here. I retrieved the camera, and it's still working. It was still filming. I cut out most of the shots of the grass, but so far so good. We'll keep you posted on the development of this thing and put some more videos up.